Rapa Nui folklore says the giant stone statues walked to their platforms on their own. For centuries, people laugh at that story. They call it a myth, a fairy tale, something villagers told their children. But in 2012, two scientists proved something impossible. They proved the legend was closer to the truth than any expert theory that came before it. And when you hear how they proved it, you will understand why this story stayed buried for over 200 years. Picture this. It's the year 1722. Dutch explorer Jacob Roggeveen and his crew land on a remote island in the Pacific, 1,500 miles from the nearest inhabited land. What they see stops them cold. Hundreds of massive stone heads and torsos, standing in rows along the coast, some nearly 33 feet tall, some weighing over 80 tons. Carved from volcanic rock at a quarry called Reina Raraku. No cranes, no metal tools, no wheels anywhere on the island, and no large animals to pull anything. The sailors ask the islanders one simple question. How did you move these? The answer they get back is strange. The islanders say the statues walked there themselves. For the next 250 years, that answer gets dismissed. Explorers, archaeologists, and historians decide the Rapa Nui people must have meant something symbolic, not literal. Because how could a stone giant, heavier than a school bus, simply walk? So new theories take over. In the 1950s, Thor Heyerdahl suggests the statues were dragged on their backs using ropes and wooden sledges, teams of men hauling for weeks. This becomes the accepted story in textbooks, in documentaries, in museums. But here's the problem nobody wants to admit. Dragging an 80-ton statue face down across volcanic rock should leave damage, scratches, cracked backs, broken bases. And when researchers actually study the moai up close, most show almost no back damage at all. Some show wear patterns on their sides instead, not their backs, their sides. That single detail should have changed everything immediately. It didn't. For decades, scientists kept pushing the sledge theory anyway, because admitting they were wrong meant admitting the islanders were right the whole time. And that was a hard thing for outside researchers to accept. Meanwhile, something even stranger sat in plain sight. Some of the moai left standing along the ancient roads leading away from the quarry are tilted forward, leaning at odd angles, almost like they froze mid-step, almost like they were caught in the exact motion the islanders described. Nobody could explain why statues meant to stand upright on platforms were scattered at strange angles along a path, instead of lying flat like something that had been dragged. If they were dragged on sledges, why would so many end up upright, mid-route, tilted forward like they were falling into their next step? The evidence was sitting there the entire time. Were marks on the sides, not the backs. Statues abandoned upright, not on their backs. A local legend, repeated for generations, insisting these giants walked. So why did it take until the 21st century for anyone to seriously test it? In 2003, two archaeologists decided to stop guessing and start testing. Terry Hunt from the University of Arizona and Carl Lippo from California State University, Long Beach, went back to the islanders' own words, not as folklore, as a literal engineering clue. They looked closely at the moai's shape, and here's where it gets strange. The statues aren't perfectly upright cylinders. Their bases are curved outward at the bottom, tilted forward slightly, with a distinct center of gravity built into the design. That's not decoration. That's not random. That's physics. Hunt and Lippo asked a simple question. What if the shape of the statue itself was a transportation method? What if the Rapa Nui people, generations of master carvers, engineered these giants to move upright, not lying down? So in 2012, they tested it. With a team and with National Geographic filming the entire attempt, they built a replica moai, nearly 10 feet tall, close to 5 tons. Not the biggest on the island, but big enough to prove the theory. They attached 3 ropes, one on each side, one at the back. Then 18 people pulled, and it walked, rocking side to side, tipping right, then left, inching forward with each pull, exactly the way you'd waddle a heavy refrigerator across a kitchen floor without lifting it. The statue moved almost 100 meters in under an hour, using a fraction of the manpower that Heyerdahl's sledge theory required. Scientists who had defended the dragging theory for half a century watched real footage of a statue walking upright, moving efficiently, with no damage to its base or back. This is where science and legend collide, because the Rapa Nui Islanders had never been speaking in metaphor. They were describing the actual method, word for word. Their ancestors weren't dragging monuments. They were rocking them forward, step by step, using rope tension and momentum, turning stone into something that could walk. But here's the moment that changes how you see this entire story. This wasn't just a clever trick. This was sophisticated engineering, encoded directly into the shape of the statue itself. The wide, curved base wasn't for stability while standing still. It was for stability while moving. Every moai carved at Reino Raraku carries this design, which means the walking method wasn't a one-time hack. It was standard practice, refined over generations, understood by everyone on the island, and completely erased from outside memory the moment European explorers decided the islanders' answer wasn't good enough. Think about that. The people who built one of the most mysterious monuments on Earth handed us the answer in 1722. And it took until 2012, almost 300 years later, for anyone with a scientific title to take them seriously enough to test it. Carl Lippo would later say something that should sit heavy with you. The islanders had told explorers the truth from the very beginning. Researchers just assumed a primitive culture couldn't have engineered something that elegant. That assumption, not a lack of evidence, is what kept the real answer buried for centuries. And once you know that, you start to wonder what else got dismissed the same way. Once the walking theory was proven, researchers went back to the island with new eyes. And what they found next changed everything again. Along the ancient roads leading from Reino Raraku to the coastal platforms, archaeologists mapped dozens of moai still lying where they fell, not lying flat on their backs, the way a dragged object would fall, lying forward, face down, tilted at angles consistent with a statue tipping over mid-walk. Exactly what you'd expect if the rocking motion failed at some point along the route. Not evidence of dragging, evidence of walking gone wrong. This detail matters more than it sounds. For decades, those fallen statues were used as proof of the sledge theory. Broken, abandoned, left along the roads. Researchers assumed the islanders simply gave up hauling them and left them where they dropped. But once you understand the walking method, those same statues tell a different story. They weren't abandoned failures of a dragging system. They were the physical record of a moving system that occasionally lost momentum and toppled. The transportation network itself supports this too. The ancient roads leading away from the quarry aren't flat and wide, the way you build a path for dragging heavy sledges. Some are curved, some hug the natural contours of the land. Some are narrower than you'd expect for teams of dozens of men hauling rope in straight lines. But they're exactly the width and shape you'd need for a statue rocking side to side, walking under its own controlled momentum. Here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. This wasn't a small operation. Nearly 900 moai have been identified across Rapa Nui. Hundreds of them successfully transported miles from the quarry, some over rough volcanic terrain, without wheels, without draft animals, without metal tools of any kind. If each one required the same walking method, that means the Rapa Nui people executed one of the most sophisticated logistics operations of the ancient world, using nothing but rope geometry and coordinated human effort. And outside science spent over 2 centuries refusing to believe they were capable of it. That's the real reveal here. It was never really a transportation mystery. It was a story about who gets believed. The Rapa Nui people gave explorers the answer in 1722. Clear, direct, correct. And for 290 years, that answer was treated as folklore instead of fact, simply because it came from the people who lived there instead of the people studying them from outside. Today, when you look at photos of the moai standing along the coastline, you're not just looking at ancient stone monuments. You're looking at a 300-year lesson in scientific stubbornness, a reminder that sometimes the simplest explanation isn't hidden. It's ignored, sitting in plain sight, spoken clearly by people nobody thought to take seriously. Terry Hunt and Carl Lippo didn't discover a new fact in 2012. They confirmed an old one that had been there the entire time, waiting for someone to stop assuming and start listening. So the next time you hear a story dismissed as legend, as myth, as something too simple to be true, remember Rapa Nui. Remember 18 people, 3 ropes, and 1 statue that walked exactly the way the islanders always said it would. And this is only what we know so far.